Hi there, we're in sunny Middlesex County, and continuing with the history of junior farmers, this is episode 4 of the origins of junior farmers. Behind me is the Sprucedale Care Centre on the location of what used to be the Strathroy District Collegiate Institute. This was the location for the second short course in agriculture that was hosted by the Middlesex Division of the Ontario Department of Agriculture. It was out of this short course that the first Middlesex Junior Farmers Club eventually formed.
Before we begin, let's get some questions answered about junior farmers.
In 1907, the concept of agricultural extension was an idea that the Deputy Minister of Agriculture had, and he tested it, tried it, experimental basis in 6 counties in Ontario, hired a young graduate from the Ontario Agricultural College in Guelph, hired 6 of them, one for each of 6 counties, and that person set up an office in the county. Most of them, to start with, were looking at being part of the school system, and so their offices was probably somehow associated with the local high school. In 1909, the agricultural or district representatives, as they were called then, later agricultural representatives, came to realize that probably the easiest way to get to influence farmers was through their kids. And so one of the projects that started in 1909 was a school fair program. And kids in the rural schools, public schools, were provided with some seed, vegetable seeds probably, and some good seeds. In the spring, they were to look after them during the summer, and then in the fall, after they came back to school, there would be a fair, and they were to bring some samples of what they had produced from those seeds to the fair. School fairs continued for many years. Officially, they ended, I'm not sure when, 1930s or 40s, somewhere in there. But in some counties, they carried on way on into the 1960s. In 1914, early 1914, the 4 ag reps went a step further in conducting short courses in agriculture for young farmers, and that was male farmers in those days. The short courses lasted for several weeks in the wintertime at a local hall or place where it was a good room, warm enough, and so forth, and was effective. My understanding is they were daytime sessions, so the young lads could be home for chores in the morning and chores at night, and spent the day at the short courses. And yeah, they were about six weeks in length.
Why did they start a short course when the Department of Agriculture first started in 1907? The first six district men were half half of the time the secondary school, and then half as assistant rep. They in becoming established, they found it was easy to work with young people. And maybe the farmers that didn't want to have anything to do with something new themselves, they would go to all ends to do something that that would help their children. And so they started the school fairs and the short courses.
At the end of the short course, the guys that had participated thought that it was such a great idea having this short course. They became friends with each other. They thought they would like to continue to have some kind of contact, educational contact as well as social contact. And so junior farmer improvement clubs became the norm after the short course on an experimental basis for the first year or two, and were so successful very quickly that concept of short courses and then into a junior farmer club was so successful that it was copied across many of the counties in Ontario. And by that point in time, 1915, in there, many of the counties in Ontario already had an agricultural representative working for the ministry, but working with the local farmers in the community, and developing farm organizations for farmers, and as well as the junior farmers. Things like weed identification, disease identification, insect identification, and like how can you do things with those, with knowing what the weeds were and how they grow, how they act, helps you control them. Understanding soil would probably be an important part of the course. Like soil isn't just dirt that's there. You've got 6 inches of topsoil and then subsoil and so forth. Like there's soil is a very live commodity, full of life that we don't recognize just by looking at a handful of dirt or soil.
Well, the short courses they started around 1912. 1912 or 13 at that time. They in Peel County, as an example, they had about the course in Peel that year started in January and run through, and they had about 30 young people, farm young people from some from every township in the county. In 1913, the assistant, the Deputy Minister of Agriculture, C.F. Bailey, was very, very, very happy about the success of these short courses that had been held in several counties in Ontario. And he said that this would be a shame to get these young people and bring them together for a month and get them all geared up and so on, and then let them drift. And so he made the recommendation that for the short courses from then on, that the person in charge should form a junior farmer improvement association, and that was in 1913. And so in 1914, there were four counties that formed junior farmer improvement associations. Some of them might have just for 1 year. I know that in Peel County they continued on for succeeding years.
Irving Brock Whale came from Goldstone, Ontario, and graduated from the Ontario Agricultural College in 1911. He became Middlesex County's first district representative in June of 1912. He left in December of 1915 and became an editor with the Farmers Advocate the next month. Middlesex County had a population of roughly 51,000 at the time, and its municipal centre of London was one of the largest commercial areas in southwestern Ontario. I.B. Whale wasted little time once appointed. He chose Strathroy to hold short courses in agriculture in 1913 and 1914. As the Department of Agriculture's office was in London, it is theorized that I.B. Whale wanted a more agricultural area to hold the short course in. Strathroy was the county's second biggest urban area, was somewhat central in Middlesex, was surrounded by farms and good agricultural land, had a train station providing regular transportation. It bordered 2 townships and was near a third, and had a number of facilities to use for holding a class. Strathroy also had a fair that I.B. Whale had a booth at in 1912. As he was recently posted to Middlesex, he was most likely trying to raise the awareness of the Department of Agriculture and engage the rural population. In December of 1992, it was noted in a report on the town's council's business that I.B. Whale was making use of the town hall. It was here he held his first short course at the beginning of 1913, and 14 young men were recorded as attending. A photo of that class still exists. That class must have done well, as he held a second short course the following year, also in Strathroy, but this time he used the Strathroy District Collegiate Institute. From about January 19th to February 20th, 25 to 30 farmer sons attended in 1914. Taught to them was public speaking, debating, drainage, preventing tubercular diseases, noxious weeds, judging hay, judging beef and dairy cattle, and heavy horses. It was known at that time in February that the class disbanded. Later in the year, in December, the students formed a Junior Farmers Improvement Association, most likely to continue on what they learned and were practicing. It is also likely that this club was formed with students from both classes. The first provincial junior farmer handbook states that there was an acre growing profit competition of potatoes that was won by Alan McNeil, and a field crop competition of potatoes won by Campbell Lamont, who coincidentally went on to work for the Department of Agriculture in Bruce and Dufferin counties.
That's it for episode 4 of the Origins of Junior Farmers. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the rest of the series of the Origins of Junior Farmers.